Hey there, it's Jerry. How you doing? That is a red Solo cup. I'm going somewhere with that. Remember the red Solo cup? You probably have seen them around, haven't you? And I'm making a cup of coffee, so just bear with me and listen up while I'm talking. This past weekend, my daughter's a student at a college called Florida State University, FSU. You may know them as the Seminoles. They beat up on a lot of teams in football and have for many years. They haven't been so hot lately, and I'm not a fan, but that's where she goes. And so we went for Parent Day. And at Parent Day, they had something called tailgate party. Tailgate parties at FSU, and I guess at colleges around the United States, are typically held in frat houses. There is no tailgate. There's no truck. There's nothing like that. And so in this frat house my daughter visited and took us, there were all these parents around celebrating the tailgate party before the game that afternoon. And by the way, FSU did win the game. But while I'm at this tailgate party, it's pretty interesting to watch. I'm a watcher. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't really fit into these things. As a matter of fact, in another life, I was a minister. Not that I have anything against drinking, it's just I never did like the stuff, even as a high schooler. So I thought beer tasted like carbonated urine. I still do, actually, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, in this tailgate party, I noticed that there was something that was pretty common among everybody there. You never guess what it is. Right. Red Solo cups. They were everywhere. Be right back. And these red Solo cups are important to my story because here's what I noticed as I watched with my bottle of water in hand. I watched a bunch of parents at the frat house holding their red Solo cups in their hands with alcohol of some kind, not always beer, but alcohol of some kind. And I noticed that they were enjoying themselves because they were taken back in time at that moment to a time when they were younger and more energetic, had ideals that we can only imagine, that were unrealistic, had views of the world that just were very idealistic. And there they were, transformed and sent back in time right there in this party. And I also noticed the other group of people that were there. Guess who they were? A bunch of students, right? And these students also had something in their hands. Red Solo cups. And they were doing their thing because this is what they did. And I noticed as this group of people were together, you had the adults, the older folks, people like me with lots of gray hair, usually pretty established individuals, taken back in time, wanting to go back to a time that they perceive as a better time. And I noticed the kids, and I say kids loosely because they were, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. They also had their red Solo cups, looking up at the adults, wanting to be like the adults. And I noticed in that little bit of vacuum, there was no leadership. Everybody was wanting to be like everybody else, except for one person that I noticed. It was me. I was the oddball in the crowd, and there may have been one or two others, but there were very few of us that had water bottles in our hands. Let me get one of those. One of these instead of one of these. And we were unique. We stood out. We stood out from the crowd. People noticed us. Nobody noticed the red Solo cups because everybody had them. What's the moral? The moral in life and the metaphor that I've found from this is that we can certainly do what everybody else does. And we can do that and be comfortable. We can enjoy life. And And we can want to do what everybody else does. We can aspire to that. Or we can be unique. We can stand out, be different. We can make sure that we leave a mark that looks like nobody else's mark. I choose that path. I'm not going to choose the red Solo Cup path. Not me. Never have, never will. And I pray that you don't either, because my dad used to tell me, in business anyway, he'd say, listen, Jerry, if you're going to do something, don't do what everybody else is doing. If everybody else is doing one thing or running one way, you run the other way. That's the path to success. I tend to agree with that. And most people in life they have one path. You know, they go to school, they have friends, they do the things their friends do, they get into college, they get a degree and get a good job, or a job. It doesn't have to be a good one. They aspire to a better life, they buy a big house, they have some kids, those kids go to college, and it all repeats. And that's the American dream. That's not the way I am. My wife, as a matter of fact, gets mad at me because I'm so hard to please. I don't stay in one place too long. I want to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else. I've never gone with the crowd. That's why I'm a Christian. Christianity is a counterculture. It's not like the path that most go down, and so that appealed to me. I'm a rebel at heart. And rebels at heart are the ones that rule the world. I'm not saying I want to rule the world. That's not my point. My point is, I'm going to leave a legacy that's different. I'm going to leave a legacy of faith, finances, a legacy that my kids can look at and say, Dad, he didn't hold red Solo Cups. He did his own thing. And whether he made mistakes or not, and whether he was successful in terms of what the world calls successful or not, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to leave a legacy that has made an impact on this world, and I certainly hope that you will too. That's it. That's all I had for today. So if you have red Solo Cup syndrome, I'm praying for you. Get out of that rut. It'll take you down the path to nowhere. This has been Jerry Spangler. I'm out.